Hello and welcome to the Total Truth Show. My name is Aldwyn and Altuney from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And my name is Ken Kleinberg, and I am coming to you all the way from San Diego, California in the United States.
And I'm Brian Washbourne, all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia.
Glenn Hankinson from Gold Coast, Australia as well.
And I'm David Bugeja from also the Gold Coast in Australia.
And we have a great topic for you today we haven't covered before on the Total Truth Show, which is the truth about the real estate industry, coming up right after this short introduction.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show, hosted by myself, Ken Kleinberg from San Diego County, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And our goal here on this show is to help you to break away from the mainstream media propaganda and lies, the disinformation and misinformation that's out there in the mainstream, and really help you to start questioning everything and start doing the research for yourself. We want to punch through all of that disinformation and misinformation. Our goal here is to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass and then pave the way for a new awakened civilization. And we would love for you to come along for the ride. Don't take our word for it. The things that we share here on the show, that goes for our guests too. Start doing the research for yourself. Start going and asking the questions for yourself. Get out there and really find the real truth behind things. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome along to our very special guests and my wonderful co-host, Ken. We've got Brian, Glenn, and David here, and these guys are the directors of Conjunction Realty, which is an Australian real estate agency that is spearheading an abundance mentality approach in the real estate industry. And this is going to be of great benefit to sellers and buyers when it comes to property. And they are actually breaking ground with never before seen 60-40% commission split to other agencies, which is absolutely awesome. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here. So let's talk a bit about your background and what got you into property in the first place. Brian, I know you've had a lot of experience, particularly, and in fact, between the three of you, you've got over 100 years experience, and your other director as well. So,
I'm the youngest out of all of us, Aldwyn.
Yeah.
These two old buggers here next to me. Bit of a lie there. I'm probably the more mature one out of us all. But I've been in the property industry for a very long time. So construction background, joined a real estate office in Christchurch, New Zealand, about 30 years ago, and came back to Australia and been again with the property and construction industry and real estate. And so for most of my life, all of my life, I've been doing property-based activities and absolutely love it. Been self-employed for decades, and really enjoyed my journey through the property industry.
Wonderful. And what about you, Glenn?
Aldwyn, I've been involved with property in one form or another for over 10 years now, but I came from the education industry, and so spent a large number of my few years as a school leader, as a deputy principal in a school here in Queensland, and spent a long time. My passion for that has been, I guess, for people, but technology as well, and for a long time in technology. And we were embracing technology in schools well before our time in a school in North Queensland, and it was about not just having the right tech for our kids, but developing a world where they understand the tech, and and I guess where I've come into this industry is using that knowledge of tech and systems to be a high tech industry, and also keep the high touch with our clients, because tech on its own is what it is. Everyone's got access to it, but when you can mix high tech and keep high touch together, then you've got something special. And so we're starting to really, we've got great agents that are, fantastic with working with buyers and sellers. And it's about, my role in the company is having systems in place and making sure that we've got the high tech to back up the high touch that our agents bring to the game.
So important, the back end, right? It helps the front end run smoothly. Absolutely, that's great. And David, what about you? What's your background in property?
Well, I've been involved in the real estate business for about almost a quarter of a century now. And I know what you're thinking. I probably started when I was about 5, but that's not correct. No, I did a couple of years in real estate in my early 20s. And then I went down a different avenue, and then I got back into it around about the year 2000. I actually started in finance when I got back into it. But after about 6 months in finance, I realised that I was actually more passionate and more interested about the real estate side of things than the actual finance. So I've been involved in real estate and absolutely love it since 2000. And yeah, I'll be doing this till the day I die. I just love helping buyers, love helping sellers. It's just the Australian real estate industry is a very exciting, healthy, dynamic industry. I'm just really excited to be a part of it and make some exciting changes.
Wonderful. And what was it that led you to actually instigate this 60-40 split, this groundbreaking, generosity and abundance mentality when it comes to the real estate industry?
Brian, you want to tell that story? Because it's a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I first got into real estate, about probably close to 30 years ago, I joined a company called Harcourts, and I was a new real estate agent, had never sold real estate before. And I remember doing my first half a dozen appraisals, and I was coming up across the same problem every time. And it was the vendors or the sellers saying, we'd prefer to deal with somebody more experienced in the industry. And I thought, shit, how am I going to overcome this problem? This is a big problem. I'm not going to make any money if I can't overcome this problem. So I thought, well, the other thing I realised is no one wanted to share their commission. It was like they didn't even want to tell you they listed a property. They didn't even want to acknowledge that they just got picked up this new listing, because they wanted to make sure that they didn't only list it, that they also sold it and picked up all the commission themselves. So you could have good quality buyers prepared to come and look at that property, but they wouldn't let you do it. So I thought, well, this is all backwards. This is wrong. So I set up in New Zealand, they called it working in, conjuncting, same thing. And I thought, right, I'm going to set up a work-in or conjunction policy where I guarantee to conjunct with all other agents. So I made up this little rubber stamp, and I used to sit with the vendors and say, well, I'm pretty new in the industry, but the difference between me and everyone else is when you list with me, you get the opportunity for every agent in Christchurch to bring their buyers through the property. So who are your favourite agents at the moment? And they'll tell me a few names. Right, the first thing I'm going to do when we list this property is I'm going to call those agents and I'm going to tell them that your property is on the market, and I'm going to get them fighting over it to bring their buyers through to sell your property. Because in my opinion, it's not about us, it's not about the money we're making, it's about the best result for you. And I used to have this rubber stamp, and I used to stamp it on the listing agreement because it's all handwritten stuff back in those days, and I used to sign it off as my conjunction guarantee. So that, and in the first year in real estate, they told me after about 6 months that the average person was making about $10,000 a year. I probably wouldn't have even given it a go if I knew that. I sold 52 properties, and I was the rookie of the year and made it into the top 20 for all of South Island real estate agents in Canterbury. So I sort of found a solution to my problem, but realising at the same time that it just made more sense to do it that way. So yeah, that was how we first came up with this idea, and I've been pitching this to people for years and years after coming back to Australia, and say, you guys should do this, you guys should do this. They go, that's a great idea, we should do it. No one ever done it. And I'm talking 20 years of telling people about it. Nobody ever actually decided to do it. So sitting down with David, David and I have been working together for, I don't know how long it is, 18 years or so now, or close to it, we decided if no one else wants to do it, we should do it. So that was close to 2 years ago. We set up Conjunction Realty, and we put our policies forward, and the rest is history. We've gone from 0 to, what are we currently, Glenn? Number 19 in our space.
Yeah.
19 space amongst all other real estate agents. So in 2 years, going from 0 to the 19th best agent or best performing agent in our preferred locations, or in our active locations, is a pretty good example, and probably evidence that what we're doing is working.
And you're growing so rapidly. And interestingly, there is actually a law of abundance, and it states that the universe is continually and effortlessly producing and creating unlimited resources for us to take advantage of. And the law actually requires that you appreciate what you have in life rather than bemoaning the things you lack. So what do you think it is? Why have so many people got scarcity mentality out there, do you think?
David?
I can't really explain that. All I know is back in 1993, I was reading one of Zig Ziglar's books, and I come across a quote, and it said that in life you can have everything you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And I read that and I thought, geez, what a magnificent way to make money. What a magnificent way to live your life. So from that moment onwards, in whatever I've been doing, I've always tried to, I was just stuck to that motto, and I thought, I just always think this way. If I look after if I put the client number one, everything else will fall into place behind that. And my attitude's been, if that doesn't work, I'll go off and do something else. But it works. If you just put your clients first, everything will fall into place around it. But I just think a lot of people are too focused on themselves and never think past themselves about helping others.
I think the other thing too, Aldwyn, is people tend to think too much about the money they hope to make or the money they think they're going to make. We've never, ever, the money is the end result. The money never comes unless you're doing a good job up front. So the money, we never think about the money. All we think about ever is how we can do a better job, look after our clients better, look after the situation better, provide a better service. And there's people like Glenn coming on board that activate our CRMs and he's our client liaison, or he's our director of client care. He makes sure that everyone's happy with the results and the service we're providing. And the money's just that thing that follows behind.
The money comes. And one of the other laws of abundance, they say, is there is ample money for everyone who knows how to acquire it and keep it. And we actually live in an abundant universe where there's sufficient money for all who really want it and are willing to obey the laws that govern its acquisition. This law of abundance, there actually is enough money for everyone to be millionaires out there. It's just a distribution of wealth that we have an issue with in the world, right? This distribution.
And I think, like Australia, the Australian real estate industry, it's an incredible industry. Like, there's plenty of money out there for all of us. And the problem is that, if agents have got a scarcity mentality, they're not going to want to share their commissions because they're going to be scared. Or what if I can't get another listing? But if you've got an abundance mentality, you'll be more than happy to share because you know that there's more out there. And as the word gets out, that you're someone that's going to, in Australia, there's over 133,000 real estate agents and there's over 46,000 agencies. So when people list their property with us, they've got access to 133,000 agents. I mean, it's just time. It's time for change in the fact that we've got to start collaborating, not competing with each other. And most real estate agencies, they're actually competing within their own office, let alone other offices. So it's time to stop competing and start collaborating for the greater good.
And when vendors when sellers really understand that, and they can see that, these guys work with all agencies around the country, it's vendors are going to demand that happens, and being change makers, we are the ones who are starting this change.
Yeah, I love it. Be change you wish to see in the world. One of my favorite quotes from Gandhi. And you are doing exactly that. And that's the thing. How often do people think of an idea, as you did, Brian? It's like, oh, this is a great idea. This is a great idea. And how many times do we have to say, oh, this is a great idea before we actually do something about it? So I congratulate you that you've actually taken action on something that you knew was a good idea and you've made it reality. And now you're setting a new precedent for this abundance mentality in the real estate industry. And, you know, kind of like in the media industry, you know, journalists are one of the people that often aren't trusted out there, right? Journalists and real estate agents often aren't trusted in general. And I wonder why that is, right? I wonder why that is. And wouldn't it be amazing if they were trusted? And with this kind of abundance mentality, I think it's a great way to build that trust and that rapport with people, because you actually really care about the client.
Yeah, we had a great
Sorry, Dave,
great example of that. Just last week, we had a property for sale on the Gold Coast, and the buyer for that property actually lived straight across the road from that property. So she got up and saw the for sale sign every morning. And even though the property was straight across the road from her, she still rung her preferred agent, which happens to be her brother's best mate. And that agent rang us, and the first question was, well, you know, will you guys conjunct? And we said, absolutely. Not only will we conjunct, we'll conjunct 60-40. We almost fell off his chair. But as a result of that, you know, the deal happened, and that deal wouldn't have happened if we weren't prepared to work with that agent. So everybody's a winner because of that example.
And that's why we have this phrase, this one behind me, written on our signboards out in the community to let people know that they can contact us or their preferred agent. And there's no agent on the planet that has a sign like that encouraging the purchasers to call their preferred agent to buy that property. And I mean, that says it all in a nutshell. Yeah, we don't only say what we do, we also make it very obvious that we're prepared to back it as well.
Amazing. And is this different in, say, in America? Ken, I don't know if you know much about the real estate industry over there, but is it different? Well, some of you might know. You've been in America, Brian, I think. Have you noticed difference in other parts of the world that have a different mentality to this, or is it just Australia?
David's up to speed with how the Americans do it more so than what I am.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been over there 6 or 7 times, but I love watching a lot of the American real estate shows. And over there, you know, one of the first things they do when they get their listings is they'll have an open, and they have an open just for agents. So they just work together. It's just a natural thing over there, and that's exactly what we're doing here. When we list a property, one of the first things we do is have an open and invite all of the local agents to also get familiar with the property and bring any potential buyers they have as well. It's just working together. It just makes it easier for sellers to sell and easier for buyers to buy.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. And so how can if other agents want to work with you, what's the process that they go through?
Well, all they have to do is contact us, and we'll put them straight on our database, and then every single week they'll get an email from us with all of the links to all of our listings, so that if they ever have a situation where they've got potential buyers, they never have to worry about thinking, oh, I wonder if Conjunction Realty will conjunct. It's an automatic thing. They know that we'll conjunct on all of our properties from day one. So we make it very, very simple and very easy.
And are you finding, as you've been putting this out there, are other agents also now willing to be more generous as well? Are you finding, or are they still being a bit guarded?
No, well, actually they are. They actually are, because we've had a few situations now where sometimes we have buyers for other agents' properties, and because we conjunct 60-40, what we're finding is that even if they normally only conjunct at 20%, they'll match what we're offering them. So they're being kind of in default purely because we're leading the charge with it. So it's working really, really well.
Amazing. Glenn, do you want to say something there?
Oh no, yeah, I was just going to bring that example up with one of our agents recently, and it's that whole concept of it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond, and it's our response to this issue in the industry that has a positive impact on the actual stimulus. So actually on the industry that we're working in. So there is that concept of being proactive and choosing our response to any given stimulus or problem. And this response to this issue in the industry is having an impact on the actual industry itself.
There's a lot of changes that need to be done. Another example is there's a saying in the industry where if the price of the property is too dear, because agents tend to go in there and tell vendors what they want to hear. So the seller might think it's worth a little more than the market's telling us. But some agents will go in there and just tell the vendor what they want to hear. Yeah, you will get that price easy for you. And then there's a saying in the industry called beating up your vendors, which I've never ever liked. And I think it's absolutely disgusting that they should even consider saying something like that. And they mean beat up your vendor every week to get a price reduction and until the price meets the market. But that's just such a disgraceful way of behaving. You shouldn't be lying to your vendors at the start, and you shouldn't be ruining your relationship with them over the next few months while you get that property sold, because how the hell are you going to get referral business with that attitude? It's just going to be a one deal. They're going to hate you at the end, never refer you, and it's going to be all over. So there's all sorts of things within the industry that need to change, and it just needs to be a more working together, collaborated environment, and they don't have to do stuff like that.
Totally agree. Treat others as you want to be treated, I always say. And I think that goes right across the board, no matter who you're working with. And, it's unfortunate that some people in the real estate industry, are charlatans. They are dodgy, they will lie to get the sale, and they'll say all sorts of things. And we see some of these tactics at auctions sometimes. I've been to some auctions myself where, sometimes there'll be secret bidders and things like that going on, right? So, I guess we can't control what other people do in this industry, but, we just be a stand for what's right, and I'm sure you would have seen it come and go, in your time in the industry.
It's all got to be
I don't think we're any different. I don't think we're any different to any other industry where there's good and bad in every industry, but I think there's a lot of agents out there that if they were taught or exposed to a better way of doing things, they'd certainly embrace it. I mean, I think most agents, want to do the right thing, but if they've only ever known one way of doing it and they've never been offered an alternative, I suppose you only know what you know.
True. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. We've got Jeff here. Hello to all those who are joining us live right now. Wherever you're joining us now, we're streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Welcome. If you have any questions for our guests, please pop them in the chat. And we do have one from Jeff, and I'm not sure if you guys can answer this one, but he's saying here, why do lawyers charge a scale of fees, more property costs, more than you pay for the exact same paperwork? So they charge a scale of fees depending on the price of the property, I think he's asking there. Do you know why they do that for the exact same paperwork?
They're not supposed to do that, Aldwyn. We have an example. We refer solicitors to a lot of our purchases, and our solicitor has a set fee for all properties, whether it's 10 million or 1 million. It's a set fee, and the only other charge over the set fee is the searches. So some properties may need more searches than others, but the value of the property doesn't usually determine the amount of searches that are required. So that could be just let's stick it into the rich people, and let's look after the not so rich people, which is a pretty shocking way to set your prices up as a law firm.
But I do think, Jeff, that's probably a great question for your solicitor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And Jeff's given us a thought for the day as well. And this is one he lives by. He said, it only costs twice as much to go first class in life.
I like it.
Very nice.
Thank you so much. Ken, do you have some questions for our guest today?
Well, I don't know much about the real estate market or anything like that. So this is kind of like a subject that I'm not very well versed in, but I hear a lot from people like on one side, like I'll hear, the real estate agents or the real estate, what's the word I'm looking for? Industry is, right now going down the toilets because of inflation and all this other stuff. On the other side, I hear people saying, no, don't believe that. It's this and it's actually doing really great and da da da. Well, I'd like to ask you guys, because I know here in the United States we are experiencing lots of wonderful inflation, and sarcasm is definitely intended. And so, how exactly is that affecting the industry really? Like, is it actually opening up more opportunities, or is it making things more difficult? How are you guys navigating through all the crazy stuff that's going on with inflation, and people having to pay more money for things and different things like that? So I'm just kind of wondering what's really going on out there and what is actually the truth around that.
It's interesting. Do you mind if I say something first, David? It's interesting that I've been through many booms and busts in the marketplace and in the economy, and what I see is when the economy is thriving and everyone's got lots of money and there's lots of properties being sold and the prices are starting to go through the roof, we have lots of new agents come into the industry. Every man and his dog becomes a real estate agent because it's a lot easier for them. They just get out there and stuff happens. But when the market turns and inflation makes it difficult for people and property prices might start to slow down, and it depends on the location, of course. Where Australia, and I'm sure America's the same, some areas could be booming while others are not. And Australia is very much like that as well. But what happens in the tough times is all of those people that got into the industry because it was simple and they didn't really have very good people skills and they didn't really care about people, they disappear. So they go out and get another job. And the ones who actually care and rather than just looking for a property for somebody who's got lots of money, they might be helping somebody sell a property because they've got no money. And that's when the job becomes a very personal job where you need to help people. People have got financial problems and you need the people skills, and you actually need to care enough about those people to want to help them. And that's when real people need to come to the party and start helping people. And so the industry is buoyant for professionals all of the time. So yeah, it's an interest, and you end up with less agents during the tougher times.
Mm.
Were you asking that question in relation to the investors themselves, like buyers themselves? How do they navigate the market, or real estate agents?
I was just asking the question. Like, I have no clue. Even what you just asked me, like, I'm just like, I don't know the difference. So, I mean, I was just asking the question, just kind of more of an overall. Yeah. So you can tell I'm a complete novice when it comes to this kind of thing. So, I mean, I'm just asking a question from my own confused mind, like, how does all this work? And, how are real estate agents actually surviving through all of this craziness that's going on? I mean, you go buy a dozen eggs and you feel like you've just been raped, it's like crazy. So, I mean, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. So excuse my noviceness here.
No, that's okay. Well, I think Brian answered that one very well.
Democracy is crazy, isn't it, Ken? When it's tough times, the government talk about we need to create more jobs. We need to get people working. People must get jobs. And they go, look at this. The unemployment's so good now. And we've done such a good job. And now we've got this high inflation situation where too many people are working, apparently. So we've got to make sure we get lots of people out of work so that the inflation comes back and then interest rates come back down and everyone's happy again. But then they'll go, oh, hang on, not enough people working again. Just democracy, society is great, but it doesn't work in a lot of ways, because shouldn't everyone be working? Shouldn't everyone be happy and financially secure? And shouldn't we not be trying to lose jobs to create a slower economy? It doesn't make any sense to me.
One thing for sure, Ken. No, you're right, man.
If we look at, think about that concept of things that are within our circle of control or circle of influence. Interest rates, inflation, totally out of our control. as a company, what can we control? And we can control how much we conjunct, who we conjunct with, and that's conjunct with or at a 60-40 rate. We can do that in the toughest of times, in the best of times. That's in our space. And so we can just, continue to focus on that concept regardless of what's going on around us.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, one thing I've learned over the years is, as far as the media is concerned, is when it's good, it's never as good as what they say. And when it's bad, it's never as bad as what they say. So I just think you don't want to get caught up too much in the every day-to-day, all the information that the media puts out day-to-day. But, yeah, I mean, no matter how good or bad the market is, every single day, there's always people buying and there's always people selling. And we just want to do our part to make that the greatest real estate experience as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. There's always opportunities in every market, and the media do love to dramatize, right? The media love the drama. Oh, yeah. They love to exaggerate the facts.
They like to spin things is what they like to do. That's what we call it over here in America. It's like, oh, look at the spin they have on that story. Look at the spin they have on that story. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Incredible. Like the economists, they tell us that they're predicting that this will happen and that will happen. And then the same economists 2 or 3 months down the track will go, now this is going to happen, which is a complete contradiction to what he said 3 months ago. But, that's the amazing thing about being an economist. You're only predicting what might happen from today onwards, and it changes daily.
It's so ridiculous. I don't mean to get off subject, but it's so ridiculous that I mean, kind of like it sort of relates, but it's a little off topic here. But it's like, so they tell us, oh, California is going to be underwater, in year so and so passes, and then they tell us again, and it's going to be underwater again. And then what's interesting is if you really look and you see these elites, a lot of them they've got their $1 million mansions on the coastline. So if California's supposed to be underwater, why are you purchasing houses on the coastline? I don't know. It just makes me go.
Maybe they say the water thing first before they do the purchase, Ken, just to bring the price down a little.
Right? Yes, that could very well be.
Yeah, they're smart.
If I could relate that back to the real estate industry for a second, Ken, I know that I've been involved for almost 25 years, and every single year that comes along, without fail, there's been at least one real estate expert from somewhere that'll come out and say, real estate's going to half in price this year, the bubble's going to burst, and don't buy now, wait 6 months, wait 12 months, you're going to get everything at half price. In fact, when COVID first hit, all the experts come out and said, don't buy now, wait 6 months, you'll pick everything up at half price. Prices went up. So, I take very little notice of what gets said in the media and like I said, it's never as good as what they say when it's good, and it's never as bad as what they say when it's bad.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So really what you're doing is better for buyers and sellers, because buyers actually have more options and sellers also have more options, which is a beautiful thing. So for those who want to check out some of your listings or who may want to list with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Glenn?
Well, look, we've got our obviously just jump into the website and there's a request form straight in there. There's a contact number they can get in touch with us here in Australia, obviously, and obviously all our links on socials. Just putting in Conjunction Realty into Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you'll get us on any of those socials. But easiest things to jump into our website, and you can see what we've got there going at the moment, and you can have a look at the performance that we've done in just a very short amount of time that we've been running, having a look at the properties that we've already sold and moved, and we're just kicking off in some projects in the projects division as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we do, and just reach out to us on some of those platforms, and be more than happy to help.
Aldwyn, one other way, if people want to contact Brian or Glenn in particular, if they just go to Tinder and put in Brian Washbourne or Glenn Hankinson, they can also get their number there.
Oh my
Just,
God.
just don't tell my wife. I'm not on Tinder. Never been on Tinder. I think it's David.
Here we go.
Alter ego. I think it is.
You did mention at the start that one previous episode went down a rabbit hole you didn't want it to, but just be careful of those rabbit holes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Here we go. Down that rabbit hole.
I believe Glenn's reached VIP status.
Yeah. Just remember to ask for the private photos, right? So and this is some other links for you guys. So you're also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. They can connect there, and they definitely can search you on LinkedIn and Facebook and find you there as well. Maybe not Tinder. That is hilarious. We all need some loving, don't we? But all these guys are taken. I'm sorry to reveal, ladies out there, all the single ladies. Sorry, these guys are all taken, except for Ken. Ken, you're not taken, are you, at the moment? You're single?
Nope.
There you go. Nope. There you go. So just reach out to Ken for a good time. Just send him a private message. And I'm single too. But
I'm not sure about Glenn, Aldwyn, but I'm pretty sure with Brian and I, our wives would probably put us on there for sale to get rid of us.
That's a good point, actually.
Wow.
they might auction you off.
I don't think they want much.
The reserve would be zero.
So I'm just curious, do your guys' services travel over here to the United States or no?
Do we have
no, we're Australian. Sorry, you go, Brian.
Yes. Sorry, Ken. The question is, do we offer our services in the United States? No.
Pretty much. I mean, the way I put it was kind of like a lighter joke. But yeah, I was just wondering, do your services apply over here, or are you limited by Australian laws? You can't, and the United States.
At this stage, just Australia-wide, Ken. We're branching throughout Australia. Our objective over the next 6 months is to have a representation in every city in Australia and hopefully every suburb in Australia, because we're building a team of agents, and these agents are enjoying the way we do things and the way that we do things differently, and our mentality of abundance and so we hope to build a team of conjunction realty agents throughout the country that support our beliefs and the way we do things.
Yeah, I guess on that note, Brian, we're just obviously passionate about what we do, and I know David talks about it all the time. If there's agents that aren't 100% happy with the place they're in and what they're doing, and they're looking to make a change and feel it's time for a change, it's not just sellers and buyers that want to work with us. We get agents contact us about that, so we're happy to chat.
So another example on how the conjunction policy works so well. A lot of properties go on the market, which we call off-market sales, and an off-market sale is where a vendor, for some reason, doesn't do any advertising on realestate.com or any medias. And that could be for a number of reasons. It could be financial. It could be that the agent had a buyer they thought might be interested in that property and listed it and said, you don't need no marketing required. We're just going to bring our buyers through. But the problem is if they're not prepared to conjunct and they're not prepared to let every other agency in the country know that property is for sale, they're too limited to getting buyers through, because there's only two ways to get buyers. One is marketing for your own buyers or reaching out to people's buyers, other buyers. And so they just lose the plot a little bit there. All they need to do is let every agency in their territory, at least, or in their region, know that I've just listed off-market property for sale. Get your buyers through there, but they just refuse to do that because they just want to make all the money. That's dumb.
Absolutely. And, as you're growing so rapidly and as you're going to branch out all around Australia, it's very important to have a strong team. So I'd love to know, now we had a great photo shoot yesterday with your whole team, and it was excellent to meet everyone in your team. You've got some in Mackay and the Gold Coast, and there was a great dynamic, I felt, with your team. There's a really great attitude that your team members have. So how do you facilitate and keep a great team?
Well, basically, we threaten them. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
All of our people, one of us or all of us have known them all for a long period of time. And the one thing that we all have in common is that abundance mentality, because with our system, it just won't work for any agent that doesn't believe in the abundance mindset, because we're all about, sharing is caring. And what I'm really, really proud of, probably more than anything, is how well our agents work together, help each other. Like, it's unbelievable how much time I put into helping each other for the greater good. Whereas I know for a fact that most agencies out there, forget about cross agencies, most agencies within the actual company, they're all fighting amongst themselves, let alone. So we're all about collaboration, not competing. It's a very rare thing in this industry, but yeah.
Yeah, David and I were just having a conversation about this the other day. There's agencies out there will have 2 or 3 agents within the same office doing appraisals on the same house and competing for that listing. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The one, they'd want to do that. 2, the vendor, the principal of that office would allow them to do it. Scrap over one listing within the same office. It's ridiculous having that situation. We'd never let our guys get into that situation. They'd never want to be in that situation. It would be one agent, one listing within the one office, and they'd probably either work together or they'd and share it, or they'd hand it over to one or the other.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Glenn?
Yeah, no, it's having that common mindset, and we don't. It's not that we have to enforce that. Our agents have that mindset, and when people come to us, it's because of the attitude, it's because of the culture, it's because of the mindset that they can feel in the place. So.
One thing I was doing with my team, which I'm just building another team right now, and one thing I'm going to be bringing in with our team is a gratitude check-in every morning. We do daily gratitude check-in. We use Slack as a communication channel, and every morning we just say, good morning, these are 3 things I'm grateful for today. And one thing would be a bigger thing, like might be that the sun is out today. Another thing is a smaller thing, so it could be that I'm grateful for my house. And then one thing we're grateful for about ourselves, I'm grateful for my kindness, as an example. And this is something that takes about a minute, and it's a great way to set yourself up for the day, and a great way to create some team bonding and to get into that attitude of gratitude, because a lot of people do hire, not so much on skills, but on how people's attitude is, having this kind of abundance attitude and moving from greed to gratitude. A lot of people living in this greedy mindset, this scarcity mindset, and it is very contracted. And when people have that mindset, they are going to be actually repelling opportunities. Whereas the more we open up in this grateful state of the abundance, the more we're going to attract more to be grateful for. So are there any practices like that, or anything you do? Like, do you have weekly meetings with your team, or what are some actual strategies or things you do to keep your team bonded?
Yeah, we have our weekly sales training every Tuesday between 9 and 10, and they're really, really dynamic sessions. I actually really look forward to them, and we share all our ideas. We make sure that everyone shares anything that they've picked up over the last week that's helped them in any way. We watch videos together, and it's the highlight of the week. We really, really love it. You guys want to say anything there?
Look, for me, it's just and one of the things that's joined us as directors together over the years is that we're constantly learning something new. We're constantly, either reading, listening, watching a podcast, and on an eclectic range of stuff. And if we're not out there leading the way and setting the example for our people, and it does, you can see that rub off in the people around us, and you are like the people you spend the most time with. And so the people who spend time with us and the people that we spend time with, we just tend to be buoyed by each other, and it's a good match.
I hadn't actually been to the sales meeting for a few weeks. I was busy with some other activities, and I went last Tuesday for the first time in several weeks, and I was blown away. It was such a thinking back to the very first meetings we used to have, where you're trying to find your feet and work out who's who in the zoo and all that sort of thing, and it was dynamic. It was Glenn. He was doing some technical stuff because everyone was having a few issues with the technical stuff, and David was there motivating people, and I put my 2 cents worth in, and it was a dynamic meeting, and everyone you could see was lifted and motivated and more able after walking out of that meeting to do a better job, and it's exciting to see where those meetings have actually evolved to over the several months.
And having been in the industry for a long time, obviously you've built a lot of trust, and a lot of your listings, I believe, come by word of mouth at the moment. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, when I read that quote back in 1993, if you can have everything in life you want, if you help enough other people to get what they want. When I got into real estate, I thought, right, I could do it. I can do it in a way where I'm constantly looking for new clients every single day. But I thought if I could just somehow get together 100 or a couple of 100 clients and just give them world-class service and just give them the best service ever, I reckon I could do well with referrals. So it's probably a little bit embarrassing to say, but in 25 years, I've never made not one cold call ever. The whole thing's just been built through referrals and relationships, and I think Brian and Dan can attest to the fact that I've never made a cold call. I just think that the best way to build businesses is to have valuable and trusted relationships with people and add value. On that note, one of our agents is an agent called Dollar. She actually works out of Mackay, and a few weeks ago she was telling me a story about how a buyer contacted her to buy a property in a specific suburb in Mackay called Orillia, and she told this buyer, look, I don't have a property for you at the moment. The one that you've inquired on is already sold. But she said, don't worry. What I'll do is I'll do up some flyers, and I'm going to go and knock on every door in Orillia. I'll do that for you, and I will find you a property. And this buyer said, I'm coming with you. I'll come with you. And I said, wow. I said, how many years have you known that guy for? She said, no, I only met him yesterday. So she was able to impart so much value and trust in this guy. He couldn't believe what she was prepared to do for him. And she joined him, and they went door knocking together to find him a property. And there was another situation. I was actually in the car with Dollar a few months ago, and she took this phone call. She was on speakerphone. She had this wonderful conversation, and then she got off the phone. I said, oh, is that your sister? She said, no, that's the buyer of such and such a property. I said, but she told you she loved you. I mean, this is how much, and Dollar's motto, and she tells every single person, it says, I don't sell property, I help people. And because I think when you have that mindset, it's just amazing how many buyers that Dollar get that we may not have the right property for them, but that she'll go out of her way. It's amazing, because what we teach our guys is that every seller is a potential future buyer, and every buyer is a potential future seller. So we've got to look after buyers and sellers. And it's just a wonderful way to do things.
I've known this guy for a very long time, guys, and he walks into my office just randomly any time of the day or week, and he'll go, remember that person we spoke to 2 years ago, and we went to there and we did this and we did that, and I've got no idea who he's talking about, and I go, yeah, and he'll go, I just got a phone call from their neighbour. They want me to sell their house, or they want me to do this, or they want me to do that. It's just phenomenal. I call him the master connector, because he's just forever on texting, I haven't spoken to so-and-so for a year, and he'll text, hey mate, how you going? And then it just turns into more business and more connections and more this and more that, and it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. There's no one like it.
Amazing. And what are some of your other success stories you've had over the last year or so you've been operating? You're coming up to your second year later this year, is that correct?
Yeah. Did you want to go first, guys? Or?
You go.
Yeah, just a couple of stories that come to mind. One is a a dear client of ours. I won't say his last name, but his first name is Andrew. He's out of Sydney. He's a great guy. In fact, the first time this guy was referred to me from another friend, and when I met him for the first time, he flew into Mackay at the time, and I remember him and his lovely wife. A bit of a joke for the day because Andrew had a really, really bad case of diarrhea. So luckily for Andrew, because I was driving him around all day, I had some. I happened to have some toilet rolls in the back of the boot, and they got used about 10 times that day. So I've never let him forget it. But anyway, it was a wild first day. But recently, I helped him build a triplex in Mackay, and he had it on the market with us. And I reckon it would have taken probably 9 or 10 months to sell this thing, but he kept the faith, and we ended up selling it. 2 of the 3 properties were bought by a particular mother, and her son bought the third one, and we got a record price. We got 1.17 million for that property, which worked out to 390,000 per apartment. But previous to that, the highest price for a similar apartment in Mackay was 325,000. So we smashed that by an extra 65,000 per apartment, which is a tremendous effort. Another story, about 6 months ago, we sold a duplex in a certain street, exactly the same property in exactly the same street was sold about a month before that for 610,000. We sold exactly the same thing for our clients at 765,000. So we've got an extra 155,000 for exactly the same product. And the only difference was the way that they sold it in the traditional way. We sold it our way. We're able to get an extra 155,000 for exactly the same property, and percentage-wise, that's a huge difference.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, phenomenal. And Glenn and Brian, do you want to share anything, any stories that you'd like to share? Success stories? Just Glenn, Brian.
Look, I guess it's because of what we do. I mean, that we work with other, third party. I guess, as I said, my space is in the back end, working with systems and tech to support what our agents are out there doing. And we get a lot of the tech companies that we work with come to us because we're constantly pushing the boundaries. We're constantly driving the tech and are pushing the tech to be better. So the companies that we work with come to us for feedback regularly, and for us to, we're always out there with new innovations and new ideas for them to develop. And unfortunately, they don't do it as fast as I'd like it to happen. But it's a credit to our guys that they embrace it, and they're the ones out there using it. And they go, well, can we do this? And so it's a matter of just as I said at the start, tech is great, but when we've got such good people on the front end, where we've got they're out there working with people, and they know what they need to support them doing their job, and that's where we come in and work with these companies that are great. But our motto is that that idea of continuous and relentless improvement. So we're constantly pushing, and we get well received by the companies that we work with in that space. Brian, you're on mute, mate.
You're on mute.
Memento. Brian's coming off.
I'll give you an example of that technology working for us. One of our agents here just purchased a property for him and his wife a few days ago, and that particular property had multiple offers on it about a week ago. So they had to put their best offer forward, and they were told that they'd missed out on the property. Unfortunately, somebody else had brought it. They got a phone call a couple of days later saying that offer had fallen over, and that they still had 3 buyers, and that if they brought their offer up to 615,000, that they would get the property, and they're getting the first bid. So I said, this doesn't make any sense, Brian. His name's Brian as well. It doesn't make any sense to me. So this guy's telling you they've got multiple offers still, and he said, well, he hasn't actually said that out loud, he's just making me assume he's got multiple bidders, but I'm going to get the first bite of the cherry. And I said, well, they can't do that. You know, the regulation says that if you've got multiple offers, every offer has to be presented to the vendor. So I said, you go back to that buyer, to that agent, and you say, am I in a multiple offer situation? And he did that, and the guy said no. So he told the truth. So I said, now you've got to go in there and offer a lesser price than you were going to see if your sellers would accept it. And they did. They accepted that price. Now, so what we've done to overcome that and create transparency is we've got a thing called props. And props is better explained by Glenn.
Look, it's an online bidding platform, not necessarily an online expression of interest where buyers can put their offer in electronically. It gets, it's a third-party company that comes in and they get verified through them. But for certain properties, that a buyer can potentially see that their offer may not be the best offer. In Queensland, they're not allowed to reveal the price of other offers, but it might show that there are two other people with higher bids on this property, with higher offers on this property than them. And so they can then adjust their offer accordingly to what they want to do or not. And so it's very
manipulated. You can't be manipulated. It's transparency. If there's three bidders, there's actually three bidders. You can't pretend there's three bidders. It's all very real.
Amazing. And I know on the Gold Coast, some people are saying, looking at the market in general, since we've had inflation, we've had rising interest rates, etc., that the market, they're saying, has dropped a bit or is stable, is what I've been hearing, because we had quite a big boom there up until through COVID. Actually, there was a big boom of real estate happening on the Gold Coast, and I know through Brisbane and Gold Coast area and other parts of Australia, there's a lot of developments going up. So we've got a big influx of people coming into the area. And how is this going to impact the future of the real estate industry, do you think?
Oh, can I go first, guys? Or
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Aldwyn, a few years ago, we were fortunate enough to come across an article done by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the ABS, and they put this information in about 6 months before COVID started. And they talked about how Southeast Queensland needed 610 homes a week, every week, for the next 20 years just to keep up with population growth. Now, that's a lot of homes. You can't have that sort of growth over that amount of time without a significant amount of capital growth. But that was before COVID and before the announcement of the 2032 Olympics in Southeast Queensland. So what COVID's done and that announcement, that's just made that problem even worse. So Southeast Queensland needs more than 610 homes a week every week for the next 16, 17 years to keep up. So in my humble opinion, we've got massive amounts of growth to go. But with that growth, the growth doesn't happen in a perfectly straight line. It's a wiggly line on the way up. So what happens is, you might have one quarter where the market drops, 0.03% compared to the last quarter, and the media will come out and say, record drop. The market hasn't dropped this much in a quarter since 5 years ago. They sensationalise things, and it confuses people. I know it confuses a lot of real estate agents. So you've got to know your stuff, and if you're out there in the market and you consider yourself, or you want to be a property investor, and this is what I teach my children, if you want to be whatever you want to be successful at, only listen to people that have already been successful doing exactly what you're trying to achieve. So if you want to be, for example, a long-term successful property investor, don't worry about what the media says. Don't worry about the glossy magazines say. Find out there, find a successful property investor who's proven that they're successful over a long period of time, and listen to them. You've got to also know who not to listen to. And whatever you want to do in life, if you want to be a successful anything, you've only got to listen to people who are successful in that field. Otherwise, you're going to get confused. And I think it's very interesting that we're in an age where there's never, ever been access to more information in history, yet there's never been more confused people ever, because they can't work out who to listen to and who not to listen to. They get confused. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's like, it's crazy sometimes trying to figure out who,
Everyone's an expert. But who
Exactly.
actually is the expert?
Yes, that's the question.
Absolutely.
And then
One of the
real estate-
reasons why you have so many people out there in like the entrepreneurial world, I know I did this for a while before I finally decided to plant my feet and like build my own brand and company. You know, before that, I mean, I literally went from one shiny object to another, one company to another, one network marketing company to another, and never really went anywhere. And it was like a big giant hamster wheel of a mess. And, you know, it wasn't until I decided, you know, I'm going to start my own brand, my own company, and, you know, just plant my feet there to where I was able to actually stop that. But yeah, it's like people nowadays, they've just got shiny object syndrome and they're just going from one thing to another because everybody's an expert. Everybody knows how to make money from YouTube videos. Everybody knows how to produce traffic on Facebook. Everybody knows how to do this. And then you go from one person to another and you end up just spinning your wheels because you're finding out nobody really knows anything. They're just flashing their little things. And yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
couldn't
there's-
agree with you more, Ken.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then there's saying that if you know 10% more than someone else, you can teach it, right? So there's, I guess, everyone knows something about something, right?
But just on that, Ken, I did a video about a month ago and the video was about there's so many of these self-help gurus out there, these success coaches out there, these wealth creation coaches, business coaches, and I really, really hated how they bag the job so much. I mean, in Australia, we've got some of the highest wages in the world, and I think when a lot of young people, especially, see these people and they're bagging jobs, and they you know, their attitude is that you're either if you have a boss, you're building your boss's dream, not your dream. But in Australia, you can have if you love your job, you're getting paid well, you've got a great boss, your boss is helping you grow, change, and develop. You can have a magnificent life and be a really successful person having a job if you invest on the side. I mean, I teach my boys there's 3 ways to get ahead. You've either got to leverage your time, leverage your money, or leverage people in the nicest possible way. And if you love your job, for example, keep your job and do stuff on the side, invest on the side, build a business on the side. But I think it's so confusing out there for especially young people because they haven't worked out who to listen to and more importantly, who not to listen to.
Definitely. You know, and here's one of the things I discovered. So in the first ventures of, you know, trying to figure out what I was going to do and everything, I started with affiliate marketing. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with affiliate marketing, but I didn't like the products that were offered in my particular field. You know, I'm a weight loss coach, you know, and based off of my own experience of losing my own weight, which was 62.5 pounds, and then keeping it off for over 5 years now.
Well done.
Well done.
Thank you. What I wanted to do is teach people how to do the same thing, how to lose the weight, but then how to sustainably keep it off. What does that look like without a diet? Well, the affiliate marketing companies, they had plenty of programs and stuff that I could have offered. The problem is, and this is one of the reasons why I finally decided I'm going to start my own company and brand, is because all of those programs, they all had to do with detox, you know, stuff and, oh, take this red green tea and all this over here. All of these are big, giant distractions and Band-Aids to the real problem. Nobody ever addressed the real issue. And that's what I'm passionate about, is addressing the real issue to help people to make those sustainable changes. But that's one of the main reasons why I started my own brand and company, because I wanted to be the real solution, not a Band-Aid.
And because you've been there, it's your journey. It's as David was saying, you're not doing something in theory or a textbook or a course. It's something that you've done, and if people, you know, you're living proof of it. So,
and that comes back to our business too, Ken. Is all those years ago when I had to find a way to break through the industry, I thought, well, let's share the commission and see if that works, and it worked. It worked a treat, and here we are, nearly 30 years later, having another crack at that theory, and it's working for us as well. So yes, it's a lot easier to get excited about something that you're actually doing or done.
Yeah, I have a saying that the person with experience is never at the mercy of a person with a theory.
That's so true.
That's a good one.
I like
it. So Ken, I'm curious, what is the real solution? So you kept saying, I want to give people the real solution. What is that?
I love the fact that you asked that. So here's a nutshell of what I'm about in my philosophy of the program. So it took me 5.5 years to lose that 62.5 pounds. Now, some people in the back of their heads, they might go, why the heck did it take you 5.5 to 6 years to lose that weight? Why so long? Here's why. I embarked on my journey, and that's a key word right there, journey. And when I embarked on it, I specifically said to myself, no, I want to do this my way. I don't want to go on a diet. I don't want to have to follow some program and be restricted. I want to do this my way. In a sense, basically, I was saying I want to have my cake and eat it too. And that's exactly what I did. One small change at a time, one small habit at a time. I actually started by following a little app that doesn't exist anymore. But the app itself was a 12-week thing where it introduced one small change per week over a 12-week period of time. And then you just stayed consistent with those small changes. At the time, I didn't realize that this was going to happen. Looking back on hindsight, I realized exactly what happened. So by staying faithful to that system of one small change per week, one small habit, one small change, when the 12 weeks was done, I actually ended up developing that brand new pattern, that brand new way of living. So those small changes, those small little habits stacking upon one another and having that be sustainable. And I took that with me through the rest of my journey. Okay. Doing it that way, yes, took me a lot longer. But the key is each one of the changes and each one of the habits that I developed eventually became part of who I was. That is the key of what I teach in my program. The changes and new habits that you put into your life have to, number one, be sustainable over the long haul. And when I say long haul, I often preface it as in a year or two from now. Why that long? Because I guarantee you that if you stay faithful to it, those new changes and habits will literally become part of who you are and now automatic. Thus, at the end of your journey, which the journey really never ends, you're always learning. But when you reach your weight loss goal, you end up more likely staying there because you've changed up here mentally and psychologically. The food part of your journey, that's going to help you lose that physical weight. The mental and psychological part is what's going to help you keep it off. That's the actual secret, is changing this.
Yes, the mindset.
It's almost like it's time for a change, Ken.
Yes, it's time for change. Exactly. That's right. It's actually making a decision, isn't it? With precision, making a decision, drawing that line in the sand and saying no more. And, I know there's a lot of people out there who've been renting for years, back to real estate now. People have been renting for years and think, oh, gee, there's no way they're ever going to get in to be able to buy a property. And I know that once people do buy a property, that then they can leverage that and they can buy again and again and again. And when I look back at my journey, I've invested in multiple investment properties in my time. And it started with just saving that little bit, that consistent, similar to what you're saying, Ken, there's consistently saving, putting money aside for my property investment. So these kind of habits, I think, go across in all areas of life. Whatever it is you want to be successful in is actually taking those small actions that end up leading to the bigger action. And now back to Glenn, David, Brian here.
Yeah, and I guess it's finding people with the right mindset to work with. In Ken, in your space, as you were saying, Aldwyn, and we're the same. It's about as I said, it is time for change, and it's getting that message out there about what we do and why we do it and who we are. That people will start to see that it's now's the time.
It's going to take time, though. I mean, you can't have an industry that's been around for over 100 years and expect everyone to say, yeah, they're right, these guys are right. We need to start collaborating. We need to start working together. We need to start making sure this is not about us. It's about the sellers and the buyers. It's going to take a very, very long time to change those habits and to change that mindset of agencies throughout Australia. It's but it's, that's a journey. They can either come along with us or they can watch us on that journey and wonder how we're doing so well or why we're doing so well. And already there's people out there amazed at what we've been able to achieve in such a short period of time.
The other interesting thing about my philosophy and the approach as well is, so along that journey, so what I just spoke with is the philosophy of becoming. So not just setting the goal to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, but then becoming the person that is in that end goal. So that's a main part. The second thing that I'll speak to here too is the embracing part. And the embracing part gets skipped when a person approaches their journey like a diet. The embracing part embraces the both up and down of the journey, especially the downs. Why the downs? Because those weak moments, the time where you fall off the horse, the time where you get that flat tire, maybe you're delayed for a whole month, whatever that looks like. That is now an opportunity for you to learn, grow, get wiser, get better, and get stronger. The person that goes on a diet skips that entire process, when in fact that entire process is actually going to be your treasure in the end. When you reach that goal, sure, there's going to be a celebration, but everything that's valued is going to be back there in the journey. All the treasure, all the gold, all the gems will be back there with each milestone that you hit and everything you learned along the way. That's awesome.
Yes, the journey is so important. And I think with real estate as well, it's very, very important, the journey we go on. And in fact, I don't know any millionaires out there who haven't lost a lot of money on the journey, right? Who've made some choices that haven't been the best choices at times. However, they've taken action, right? They've taken that consistent action. And I think in any industry, it's easy to get overwhelmed sometimes and think, oh gosh, there's so many options of what can be done, etc. But just looking at what is the 1% change you can make today that at the end of the year will be 365% change at the end of the year. What's the next most important thing to do? And having a great team of experts that know what they're doing, like Conjunction Realty, right? You're working with experts here who know their stuff. So for anyone who is wanting to get into the industry, wanted to buy property, or anyone wanting to sell property, why wouldn't you go to guys with 100 years experience rather than trying to work it all out yourself? You're not going to, most people aren't going to get 100 years in their own lifetime, right? So, as David was saying, you either invest in time to save money or you invest your money to save time. And the wealthy all know that it's much better to leverage, as David was saying, other people's time with anything. And this is where having experts in their field that you can trust, is absolutely crucial. And that's why I love this abundance mentality here. And Brenda's here with us. She says, all of you, of course, experts in your field. Yes, absolutely. We are all experts in our field. And she says, but the money is in your own course, your own program. Yes, that's one way to make money, is in your own course or your own program. And it's the services you offer. So not everyone has programs that they're selling, right? And in fact, Conjunction Realty could have programs that they sell. They could teach people how to do this, how to buy and sell property and that kind of thing. However, I don't know if you guys are looking at doing any courses or anything like that to build that up. Is that something you're considering?
I don't quite understand that question. Is that a question or a statement, or I don't quite get my head around that?
But the money is in your own course, your own program. So a lot of experts, they teach about how to be wealthy with their field of expertise, and they make a lot of money selling programs teaching people how to do that, right? So the teaching of, these courses, of course, there is a lot of money in courses. Absolutely. There's a lot of money in online courses, but how many people honestly are going to sit down and watch hours and hours of videos? People want to work with people. This is the thing. So a lot of people actually buy courses. And I think the stats are only 10 to 20% of people actually will do the work involved in that course. Right. But there are people who maybe, can't afford the bigger course. They buy a small course to get started in whatever they want to learn. And there are a lot of people making amazing money from that. So
it's crazy.
Yes.
I mean, these days, in my opinion, a lot of companies, a lot of people charge thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars for these seminars. But these days, there's so much incredible information online for free, for nothing or almost nothing. I don't see any reason why you have to pay big bucks for any of that stuff anymore. It's just, there's so much information available. And when this seminar thing, it's a fact that when people go to seminars, they only take in about 5% of the information and their cups are full. There's a lot of people that go to seminars, spend thousands of dollars, they only retain less than 5% of the information, and then they do nothing for the next 12 months or 24 months till the next seminar. To me, motivation and inspiration is like taking a shower. You need a little bit every day. If you have a half an hour bath today, you still got to have a shower tomorrow. You want a little bit of information every day goes a lot further than a seminar, and then you do nothing for a year. And it's not the information that you come across anyway, it's the implementation of the knowledge. A lot of people say knowledge is power. Knowledge is potential power. The application of the knowledge is power. So, there's anything you want to be an expert at today, just about anything, you can get hold of the information online for free or very close to free. It's amazing what's out there.
Absolutely.
If they want to learn any of this from us with our 100 years experience, they better get in quick because we'll be all dead soon. So,
Hey, speak for yourself, mate.
It's interesting. Knowledge is one thing, but where does wisdom come from? Wisdom is actually the application of knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. The application. Absolutely.
Okay,
and one thing.
Sorry, guys, could I just digress for 1 second? Sorry. Can you mention before that, you can have your cake and eat it too? On the subject of cakes, could you please send me your best cake recipe? Because I have a dear friend, she's a neighbour of mine. I won't mention any names, but her name is Helen West, and her favourite food is cakes. So can I please have your best cake recipe for Helen? Thank you.
I don't know if I have a favorite cake recipe, but I've recently been dabbling in making my own beef jerky. So I don't know if she likes beef jerky.
a little bit different.
Apparently dark chocolate is very good for you. So I think a dark chocolate mud cake is probably a good idea. Something like that, I would say. One thing's for sure is that there's always going to be people in all our industries that are going to need our help, right? We're not going to be able to be replaced by robots with what we do and with our experience. There's always going to be people buying and selling property. There's always going to be people wanting to lose weight. There's always going to be people wanting to market themselves in different ways. And so that's one thing for sure, is that I would say, we've pretty much on a sure thing with what we offer. And we know that the population boom, particularly in this area of Queensland, we've got the 2032 Olympics coming up, and they're saying that there's going to be more than a million more people moving to Queensland just through the time between now and the Olympics. And also 400,000 overseas migrants over the next 2 years is what stats are saying coming into Australia. So right across Australia, I think we're going to see a big population boom. And generally, there's not enough housing to go around. So the housing that is around to go around, we want to make sure that it's the best options for everyone. And that's what you're doing with Conjunction Realty. Was absolutely brilliant. I love this whole abundance mentality idea and concept, and I'm sure more and more people will start to embrace it when they see the value of this. So wrapping up shortly, we've gone for over an hour. We can keep chatting here, but any final words you'd like to say about what you're doing or moving forward? We've talked a bit about your goals. We know you're going nationwide. Australia-wide, you want to be a household name as well. So that's the goal there, putting that out. Conjunction You heard it here first, right? You heard it here first. Just watch this space over the next coming years, and I'd love to see more and more agents embracing this, 60-40 abundance mentality, abundance split. So, final words.
Go, Dave.
Well, Aldwyn, you asked us to prepare our favourite quote or saying before the show. Mine is a rising tide lifts all ships. That's how I try and think.
Yeah, I love that. A rising tide lifts all ships. Yep, absolutely. Love that. Yes. And Glenn, go to you.
Look, sometimes I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but as the boys will attest to on some
you're
days,
right, Ben. You're right, mate.
What I have learned is I learned a lot from a book called The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
And there's a quote in there. One of the actual habits is to seek first to understand, then be understood. And it's the concept of listening with the intent to understand someone rather than with the intent to reply. And so I think what I've worked at over the years, if I can master that, it doesn't matter what people I deal with, what industry I'm in, what problem there is to solve. If we listen with the intent to understand the other person first rather than to respond, we get ahead.
I love that, Glenn. That's fantastic. And Brian, what's your thought?
Mine's that kooky one I told you the other day at our meeting, Aldwyn, because I'm a bit of an innovator, and I believe I am. I try to pretend I am, and I think that there's always got to be a better and faster and quicker and more successful way to do things. It just hasn't been revealed. So I've always liked that all creation awaits with eager longing the revealing through the sons of God. And to me, I think every new idea is out there. We just can't see it yet. We just can't. We can't recognise it yet, but it's there. And how often do we see people come up with an idea and go, "God, that was so bloody simple. How come I didn't come up with it?" All the good ideas are still out there to be revealed, and we just need to be open-minded enough to let them come in.
Love that, Brian. Fantastic. And of course, you have been hearing today from our special guest from Conjunction Realty, the change makers. Check out conjunctionrealty.com. Absolutely brilliant business that is Australia-wide very soon, already on the Gold Coast, Mackay, and growing rapidly. So check these guys out. And Ken, how can people connect with you?
Oh, wait. Well, don't you want to hear my quotes and stuff first?
Yes.
I'm like, wait a minute. How did we skip over the quotes over there? It's like, wait a minute here. So today I got a couple.
Not like you're a co-host or anything.
Right? So today I've got a couple. So kind of going along with what I've already kind of like stated around my philosophy. So instead of the common thing that people like to do, which is do and then have. Do, have. That's kind of where most people ride. But rather, it needs to be become, do, and have. With that, I will give my actual quote, which is, "You cannot hope for motivation for the day. You must be intentional about it. Start your day with intention."
Love that. And where can people connect with you, Ken? Let's go to that now, shall we?
Now we can, yes. People can connect with me through my link tree, which is right here on the screen. That's www.linktree, linktr.ee/FatFighterKen. First three links that you'll see on there is my calendar link to book an appointment with me. You will see my Facebook group, which is a growing community of people that just want to be empowered in their weight loss journey and not, be in the dark. So that's another really great one. And then, now I forgot what the third link was, but anyhow, you'll see like the first three up there. The most important ones are my calendar and my Facebook group.
Yes, check it out. And no doubt your program as well, and how people
And
can
that's
connect.
actually the third one, my website. Thank you.
There you go. There you go. There you
Hey,
go.
Aldwyn,
Awesome.
Aldwyn, do we get to hear your favourite quote?
Yes, we're coming to that. Thank you, David, for asking. I do want to let people know, because there are going to be some people on the audio listening to this on the podcast platforms as well. So we'll just spell out Conjunction Realty for those who don't know how to spell that. It's CONJUNCTION, Realty, REALTY.com. for the website for Conjunction Realty. And people can connect with me at linktree/Aldwyn, has all my links, linktr.ee/Aldwyn, ALDWYN. We have a Global Good News Challenge where you can get into this abundance mentality every single month. We share gratitude and good news on social media. It's absolutely free to participate in. We share it out to thousands of people. And this is a way that you can be the change you wish to see in the world, as Gandhi says, one of my favorite quotes. And the other one I will give you today is from Margaret Mead. And it is: a small group of thoughtful people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. And I think what we've seen here today is a great example of that. We're all changing the world in our own ways, and we've all taken action on something that once was an idea that we have turned into action. Thank you so much to our special guests today, Brian, David, and Glenn from Conjunction Realty. It's been an absolute pleasure. The change makers, making change happen in the real estate industry. It is time for change. And watch this space. These guys are going to be a household name very soon, and can't wait to help with that journey as well. And Ken, my amazing co-host, always a pleasure to be with you here today. Any final words before we wrap up today? Anything anyone would like to say?
Just wanted to thank you guys very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. It's a great show you guys are putting on here, and we really appreciate you giving us the time to share our story with you guys.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you so much. Sending you all love right across the world, wherever you're watching this. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, pop in the chat. What have you got out of this conversation here today? Let us know in the comments what's something you have got from this today. And if you've enjoyed it, please share the love as well. Sending you lots of love. We'll see you again soon here on the Total Truth Show. And check out conjunctionrealty.com and check out our links as well. Stay connected and let's have an amazing life together. Make the most of every precious moment. Bye for now.